Hi, VOD people, I hope you're having a good day. White Mountain jump scare, yes, I am not using the VTuber. If you missed, that is Billy Bob, aka Racecar in the Discord. I am not using VTuber. We vibin'. I need to actually finish my starter base. I've been meaning to do a stream for quite a few days. I've been getting busy instead. And not even on stuff you'd actually see, aside from editing. I was doing a lot of editing, and then procrastinating the editing, and then finally finishing the editing. Mostly just background BS that I need to get done. But finally, we could actually officially finish the starter base. AKA, I add a bunch of crops and trees. Ooga booga. Also, I'm already on the server Racecar if you just want to hop on them. And let us get over to gameplay. There we go. And I probably need to go around and fix up some of my screen stuff. I wanna make... We're gonna have my character apparently stare at us for a good second here. I wanna make this and myself smaller. There we go, we're gonna do that, and then boop. Make very small. And then, let me... This one? Small. No no VTuber. Yep, no VTuber. I've been enjoying just doing face cam. This one I also need to do. Fuck. I need to resize that. So all of that is resized now, and I will figure out, because it's not gonna... It's still different on this one. I will figure out and or deal with it later. And then I need to find where's chat. Where did I put chat? Where's... I'm literally hovered over game chat. I don't know why I'm trying to find it. I've already found it. There we go. So tiny, so you can actually see the screen. Stream delay is minimal. Ooh, nice. How do I make my camera small is the question, because I take up a fucking bit of room here.
Yes, we go. Kaboom.
I forgot about that one. It's hard to cut off anymore, because I'm already... I feel like I'm taking so much... We just make myself smaller. That is the solution here. Small. So you actually see more of the damn screen. I think that's everything I need to fix. There we go. I have not been logging. I'm not playing stream music. That is the thing. I was too busy actually getting everything together.
It's magic.
Close. There we go. I have not been on. I've been getting other shit done. Apparently, I haven't been on so long. What? Oh, I was on the other day off camera and finished all of the grass of what I terraformed. That was not my doing. I am not claiming responsibility for that terraforming. And apparently I still have the odd and end random thing on me that I didn't clean up. But I have been getting a bunch of other shit done. I've gotten editing done. I've gotten the planning for this week's next video done. We're gonna stream with Penguin tomorrow for Amalgamation. Computer might be happy. Apparently the Aether updated to 1.21.8, but only on Neoforge. Oh yeah, I didn't watch it, but I saw, I got recommended the update video on YouTube. What am I? That's what I'm doing. What? Pots, flower pots in there, seed, flowers. I don't know why I've been putting some of these in here when they belong in here. That's why. Bong. And we probably need to refill some things because I did not do it the last time that I was on. Which technically was today because I had to log on for a thumbnail for the VOD channel. And the next several days are going to be the VODs that I forgot to post. That have just been sitting on my computer. Yes, we did add Vivecraft at the server. I did that when we did the last mod update. Yeah. It has been done. So Billy Bob so wishes we can mess with him on, VR. I need to we need to go over and I'll repair my stuff. Gotta love that riser. I need to remember how to play the game. Because I've been doing so much technical work in the background, I just haven't been playing. Wait for my sister, I'll try to get on to pester you. I think I'm already being pestered. But I will accept no more pestering. Yeah. I should have expected as much. But from tonight, Sunday night, until... Can I talk for like 2 seconds, please? Thank you. From tonight until currently I plan to Friday, we're gonna have streams basically every night. We're streaming with Penguin on Amalgamation tomorrow. And then Tuesday, we get started on the next project, which is finishing the Mega Base. And that's gonna continue every night. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Hopefully finished Friday, if I can do everything and plan accordingly. And I don't know if I'll stream Saturday. I might take that off just to have a break. Or I might stream regardless, because apparently I've actually got somewhat a handle of my life now.
Freaky alien lemonade.
I forgot about the freaky alien lemonade. Okay. And it still has infested for like a whole nother minute. Do I have anything else that needs to be repaired? Yes. I need to repair Big Ham, apparently.
When freaky aliens give
Quick
you
does it
lemon,
repair this?
make freaky alien
Pretty fast. Good. Oh, I have coffee. This is not coffee. This is hot cocoa. Hold on, where did my sound alerts get moved? Let me see. No, they're still up there. Okay, I don't know why I saw a text above me for a second. Unless I am just going insane. I don't know, we will see. I can look back at the VOD later if I remember to. Cool. That is a cool effect, though. Yeah, I need to actually sit down. I've never watched anything Goat Simulator. Or, I know of the game, I know it is a really silly game. The closest I've seen is... I think Jack played... It was either Jack or Mark, Jacksepticeye or Markiplier played Deer Simulator? Somewhat recently? Oh, that's what I'm seeing above my head. It's my subtitles going overboard. Every now and again, enough happens at once that you can see the Yeah, there it is. See the silverfish peek out behind me. Because I perfectly cover all the damn subtitles. And less boy. There we go. Okay. And then Yoinkus into that. So as the title states, Kurt to crop the Cranberry. Also, do your daily cranberries if you can. There's a channel point redemption that is pretty damn cheap. You can get your daily cranberries. I want to mess around with the carts, the Nifty Carts that are on the server. I have not done anything with them. I wanted to in the past and ended up just moving around armadillos with them. But there is a whole set. We don't need the Reaper right now. We do need the plow and the seed drill. And I want to make a bunch of fried rice fields. Because there's a method to the madness, and the method is cranberries. I gotta first figure out how we use the things. I think the plow, I needed Sanic with that. Or I might be able to just do it myself. Yeah, I think it's the Reaper that needs Sanic. I can't mess around in VR because I have to connect my VR headset to my laptop, and my laptop doesn't have a good graphic card. Oh no. That makes sense, though. How does one do such thing that is... Aha! You have to hold a tool. Okay. And so, oh, no, I have to hold a tool in hand. I want to do 2 of these together, so it should do that, because I don't have 3. So this is how we can till, and I assume the seed is somewhat the same. So then I actually have to build the damn crop things, or... The original idea was I would do some, like, cobblestone and stuff. Give you mindy. I have 2. Oh, a third one would be nice. I'm half tempted to just till the entire area and then plant the lazy way. Yeah, I think we're gonna do that. I do need to add water about the entire place first, then. So let's bop. Also, depending on how fast we get this done, if we get this done pretty fast, then we can play. I have a game on my computer that I've talked about every now and again called The Chef's Shift, and I adore it. It is fun, and I kind of just want to show off. Honestly, that is the only goal I have of actually playing it on the stream. I've talked about it before. It's basically order up those kind of fast food. You gotta get everybody their food as quick as possible kind of games. Except you have to type everything. In order to move about the game at all, you gotta type out where you want to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 here. You can actually space these out surprisingly well. I should actually move this one over. Also, welcome to my hair doing its own thing. Something I'm very happy. This is an old party trick because I could just kind of whoosh the hair back and forth. It doesn't... We're just gonna make me white as hell for a second and just... It just floats. Very satisfying. I missed having short hair. I need to move, if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, math. This. I can do math. I can also, I did see, yep, there's a race car in my base. Yeah, boop. Yeah, boop. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I could actually do it in this. I immediately lost my count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get rid of this one. Would be perfect. And that should cover almost this entire area, except for, I think... No, I do need another one back here. These entire 2 back rows wouldn't be covered. And my hair feels weird from messing with it. Alright, my cocoa! Nummy. It is raspberry cocoa. 30 anvils. I would expect no less, Billy Bob. Alright. What might be a good... I'm tempted to do some sort of cobblestone between this and the path, but I kind of like the idea of it just existing on its own a little bit better. I need to do like some sort of transition between the farmland and the path, though. But that can be another day. Or I just don't do it at all and don't give myself an extra task to do when I'm not even sure I'm gonna get this one done. And I don't know why I moved the water bucket back when I still definitely need it. Let's place here. Got the perfect name for the other plow. Race cars farmy farmed. Yeah, that checks out. I wanna, at some point... Oh, right, I was gonna use that later, huh? I don't know if you want to keep it for the moment or not. I want to download Supermarket Simulator, and I need to workshop the name, but currently the work in progress name for the store I want to own and spend all of my free time playing. The store I want to own, I wish to name Rocky Rocks Retail. Don't ask me why. Rock is just a username username nickname I've ended up using quite a bit at this point now. I'm pretty sure it's my screen name on Steam right now too. I'm lucky enough, if anybody remembers Nickelodeon's old Monkey Quest, there is a Reborn project for it. Group revitalizing the game, unrelated to Nickelodeon. That is way too close to each other. And I found out about it early enough that I am the proud holder of the username Rock. No fancy characters, no extra characters, no underscores, no nothing. I straight up have the username Rock. And I'm very happy about it. There you are. Nice penguin. And a couple llamas. Do you want this one alive, or... There's one chilling down here. Are you trying to make a zombie cage? Or are you trying to make a race car cage? Boop. Please. Aha! I did it. Nice. Does that actually stop them from burning, though? Does an iron bar actually work? Because wouldn't it be considered a transparent block? At this point, I'm just gonna plant a bunch of these. Plant? Plop. We're gonna go with that. I'm gonna plop a bunch of water and see how much this actually covers. Usually got a decent intuition of those. I'll just roll with the punches. Water is very weird between levels, too. It can stretch across levels, but usually I'm just gonna put a water source about every level anyway, just in case, and also to fill in the gaps that I don't have my bow and my hotbar. Cute. QQ. Yeah, Skyrim has done me well. No zoom in or nothing. Fantastic. I'll actually steal those. Next pieces. I have a fantastic story that happened today. So our cats are indoor cats. They've been indoor cats since about last fall, when we got my grandma's cat. She moved with my aunt, who has way too many cats already, and they're all boys. My grandma's cat, Jenny, is a girl, so you can see how a lot of cats, and this giant scaredy cat Maine Coon would not get along. And the only other person she trusts in the world before coming here was my dad. So she ended up here. And she's slowly coming out of her shell, but she's the reason all of the cats are indoor now, because we didn't want her trying to escape and run all the way back home, which is not a far distance. It's like an hour away by car. So they're all indoor now. We have a little catio for them, so they could still kind of be out there. They're kind of indoor. And today, It was the first time since all of us went down and they got fully locked in that it was warm enough we could actually open up the windows and open up the house. We got screen doors on the back doors, so it's pretty easy enough to do. Have fun flying. Oh yeah, that is a good one. Yeah, Penguin's gonna have fun doing her trident. That is gonna be interesting. I'm surprised she hasn't asked for rain yet, so she could Riptide. That would be enough to make me throw up. I don't get motion sick, except for motion in games for some reason. But that would just make me throw up. That would. Almost threw up using Elytra. Yeah, I'd get that. I get that. Like the same stomach lurch when you see a height, even if you know it's in a game, you're just like, ugh. But we opened up the house today for cats. And I was talking with my dad for a second. He had finished cleaning up the yard and he was gonna get the cars back in. He walks away to grab the cars and walk them and drive them back. I'm not like that with that. I'm stuck. Oh no. Where? She's over. Why is she? Oh no! Can mod privileges make it past that? Okay, well, we will see. We're gonna find out. Boat. No. No, they cannot. Can't do that. There are any weaknesses in this? Does that cover the entirety of? That does cover the entirety of that. Exploits. Nope. Whip. There's a little spot there, but it doesn't fully go out. Found a which way? Oh, isn't there the all the way upstairs? Oh, there is a tunnel. Okay, where? Let me see tunnel. Oh yes, I see the tunnel. I see the tunnel, and that escapes to a cave system, which should let you get out eventually. I was just thinking go upstairs because all the way at the top. Yeah, you could escape through one of the windows up above in the second floor. Oh. Haha! There we go. Magic. Or she found one of the windows. And now they're doing that. I have water plots to get back to. Jeez. Cats are indoor now. We opened up the house for the day. And Dad had gone. Can you mine with the other hand? I don't know. And Dad had gone to drive the cars back into the driveway, and I go back in the house, and my idiot cat Dusty tries to squeeze himself past me, and gets about an inch out of the doorway before I grab him by the scruff and bring him back in. our other cat, O'Reilly, one of our other cats, O'Reilly, she had also been right beside him, and now I can't see her. So I look around inside for a second, and then just by the chance that she managed to get past me, I go look outside, and I can see my dad walking back along the road, and I look around the corner, there's this brick planter that's exactly to the left of the door, and it blocks a lot of view. I look around the corner of it, and yep, she's right there in the grass. She hasn't even noticed that I'm standing there. She's still staring right at my dad, her favorite person, waiting for him to come get her. And she's like, I'm being a good kitty. You can let me out again. I'm being good. See? I'm not going anywhere. I'm waiting for you. And I walk around. She finally notices me. I get behind her to pick her up. She does not like being picked up. She is the queen of the house. You do not mess with her. I have picked her up like once in my life because I accidentally let her out when it was still like the day after it had been really horrible weather. And it was still kind of windy and I realized my mistake. And I picked her up and she and I were both surprised that she just kind of ragdolled in my hands and then I plopped her back down the moment we got back inside. But I go around her to pick her up and she's like, no, it's okay. I'm being a good kitty, see? And just runs back to the door, waits for me to open it, and goes back in. And now both of them are in, and they're safe again. And I look up, and in the corner of the couch is the fourth cat we have, Dinah. And she's sitting there. She's a black cat with these bright green eyes. And she's staring at me wide-eyed, like, I could get out that way? I'm like, don't. We've had enough escapes today already. Don't. Okay, how much water can I actually fit over here? I think my favorite thing about all of that happening is when my mom got home and I was trying to tell her the story. I was like, oh, you missed this hilarious thing, and she had to hit the bathroom real quick, and I'm waiting for a second. I get out of my room, and just outside of my room, Dusty and Aurelia are right near each other. Dusty's hanging out around my feet, trying to rub up against me, like, oh, I'm being a good boy. See, I'm okay. I'm fine. My mom gets out of the bathroom, comes over, and I can just point. These are the culprits. And get to tell the very lovely story of their very failed escape. Fantastic. You gonna come collect your cage race car? Or shall I move it to a more appropriate spot? Or at least a spot that's out of the way. Let's see how much I can actually get done with just this water. Although the rain's gonna kind of ruin it a little bit. You know what? This wandering trader's up here. Might as well see. Potion on invisibility. Minus 100 waypoint transmit range. Okay. Oh, he has open eye blossoms. Sorry, Ethel. I guess Ethel understood. Llama. That just fully bounced off. Oh, that was a trader head. Thank you. Head. Wandering trader head. Boop. Two very different cursed images right here. Cool to have be interesting for me to wear Warden Head, though. Do I have a Warden Head? No. Because I'm pretty sure my colors are almost exactly picked. It's not picked from a Warden itself, but my colors are picked from a Shrieker, which I assume are the same. I wouldn't think it's... Do I get to test the word in it? Yes! That's almost correct. My colors are a little lighter. That's sad. I'm too diluted. I need to deal with grass and dirt. Grass, dirt. Yeah, bunk, bunk. Oh, thank you, coffee pot. I forgot about my cocoa. Yes. Who's there?
Oh, this is... Where is Mew? Mew!
I'm muted in game. Hi.
Mew, hi Mew. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, your character actually moves around like it's VR. Oh. Let's do... I'm gonna make a group.
Please don't kill me. Okay,
there we go.
Now say something.
Hello.
Yay,
Hi. According to all known laws of aviation, there's no way the bee should be able to fly. Its wings are too small to get its fat little body off the ground. The bee, of course, flies anyway because bees don't care what humans think is possible.
I feel like a bee. I don't know how to fly. I had to walk.
Did you
all the way
actually
here from...
fly over here?
No, I actually had to figure... I had to walk, and then I just fell fancily with my trident over here.
I want to see what does it look like for you on a horse, because we do have the dual horse thing.
Oh, this doesn't sound good. Okay, I'm going up there then. Wee. Oh. Ow.
Sonic.
Ow.
All right, you got... Are you... Yeah, it's still... He's still slow. That sucks. I need to train him again.
Oh, shit.
Oh. Where did you go? Oh, there you are. Are you comfortable walking off of that? Okay.
Oh, actually, this isn't
ride.
bad. You're just massive.
Oh, lovely. Hey, no rain! Cool. So this makes this all the more bearable.
Oh, no rain.
And I've finished the paths that I am willing to do. So this is, we can actually go around and have a mini tour of the server for all the frickin' paths that I did.
Yay. Oh wait, did you finish the path to my base?
No. All the paths that I chose to do.
Okay. Good to know.
Because we do have the nether hub to your base, and I got other things to do. After the mega base, I still have a bunch of time. After the mega base and the floor is lava, if I still have time after those, then I will start up on a path all the way out to your freaking base. But I added a short little one here that goes out to Oops and Loves.
Man, I wish I was like him. I wish I could fly. I don't know how to jump, so I can't fly.
I think you just have to, like, real-life jump, or it's a keybind, maybe. I hesitate to say that, but I think it's real-life jump.
I can't find it, and...
BRB, alright.
I don't know how to turn on smooth turning, so I am just, like, spinning around in real life half the time.
Uh-oh. It does look silly, though.
What do you... I don't know what it looks like for you.
It looks like you are moving around in VR. I could actually see the VR movements.
Yeah, that's because you have Vivecraft installed too. If you didn't, it would just look like I'm a regular player, but like I was born yesterday, level 11 player.
That's fair. I need to double check on a schematic. I want to extend, make a south and east. Ooh, nice. I'm gonna make a south and east entrance, and I need to double check where the south entrance would end up, because I'm pretty sure it should end up somewhere about here.
Wait, I don't know how to get off the horse.
That is a good question. When in doubt, I could just pick you up.
Oh, I can just click shift on my keyboard. That works.
Okay, yeah. Maybe you could just click jump on your keyboard too. Oh, there you go. That looks so silly. You good? Trying not to barf? It might have broke your mic if you were talking. 'Cause I know race car has that problem sometimes. Nope, there's race car. Alright, I was doing, plow. Yes, plow. Excuse. There we go. Nummy. Hello? Yeah, something broke. Something broken. Boop. And that should... Is it down? Yeah, I think Penguin mic broke.
No,
Okay.
I just accidentally somehow muted it. I don't know what button it is, and I accidentally clicked it.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, I'm flying! Wee-hoo!
Nice! Oh, this is gonna... Okay. So plow is, it's not meant for what I need. But it's certainly gonna help, so I'm using it anyway. Because there's only so much it can actually do.
Oh.
Yeah, because I have not good terrain for it. It needs flat ground. This would be great for race cars' wheat fields, not for my rice fields.
Yeah, he has one. Well, they don't inherently use plows on rice fields, do they? Ow. Oh,
no. Or well, my fried rice fields, that is. My carrots and onions. Just get that one spot. One spot. There we go.
My hood is a little messed up. Oh, please. Hi.
I
I
still want to do these.
Oh, this is cool.
But I'm half tempted not to. Ooh.
Wait. I'm actually shocked that works. Wait, do I need to eat?
Back it up into the correct spot. I'll just fix whatever I don't reach later. Honestly, this would probably be faster if I didn't use this, unfortunately. I have a feeling the seed drill's not going to be any better, but I will attempt nonetheless. Does the you can't see the Nifty Carts? No, you didn't. You good.
Okay. No, whenever someone does pat-pat, everything becomes like a beige.
Oh. Well. That is a thing.
Scaling thing. This is kind of meant to be played on vanilla, but this is running shockingly very well. I was actually expecting this not to run as well as it is.
You know what'd be funny with it?
Amalgamation.
Yeah.
I would die so many more times.
Yeah, I definitely.
I mean, I'm down to try it. Not next stream, though. I want to work on her. I want to finish up our house and then do the lich.
Yeah. Probably hit the stronghold and use the nether. Or just use the nether, period. To get out there. Do a little quick nether portal calculation thing.
Oh, you have a maze. Please don't maze me.
Okay, there we go.
I have 58 levels. Please don't. I'm slowly regaining my 200
I have a perfect 69 levels. Fantastic.
I'm slowly regaining my levels back from his brother. Why is my axe so inherently... Why are both of these so broken?
I don't know. You didn't fix it?
I didn't mend my stuff. Why do you have so many heads?
Because he does. Okay.
I can't...
Sure.
So there is a lot of things I can't
When are you paying rent? What you need to do?
Like, I mean, like, stuff I normally do on mouse and keyboard, I can't do in VR. Because I don't know how to switch things.
Here's rent. Oh. Oh, gee. Yeah,
I mean, you asked like
I'll
one
take
of the
that.
richest players.
He gave me 30 diamonds.
Ah, damn.
I don't think
I
I've
tried
used
so
diamonds
hard.
since like day one, since I made this armor. That's the last time I've used diamonds. The only other time I touch diamonds is when I collect from the fried rice shop. This looks so horrible, but it's fine. It's whatever.
Oh.
Oh,
Hey, oh, fuck.
hopefully
Ow.
that didn't get rid. Okay, it just popped the plows back in my inventory.
I don't know what I hit. I hit something.
Maybe me?
Yay! No, I meant in real life.
Oh. Yeah, that makes a bit more sense.
Ow. This is fun. I don't want to try to fight someone who's actually had practice. And like, VR would be fun.
I might actually stand a chance.
Maybe. I mean, I am.
Watch me
slightly
die
lagging, but That
anyway.
might just be my internet. Ow.
Mm.
Oh.
I'm not sure. I've never been interested in a VR headset. I'm trying to think if there would be any game I'd be like, oh my god, I would love to play that on a VR headset.
Do you have a fascination in like mixology, or like just like a slight
Actually,
interest?
I know. Not really. I know what I'd want, and it's I would want to play Resident Evil Village, not for the gameplay. I just want to be in House Dimitrescu. Not even for the reasons you're thinking. I legit actually just want to look at the architecture and be in that castle. I want to exist in the castle.
Those were the exact reasons I was thinking, so...
I assume most people would just go to Dimitrescu herself.
See the big titty? Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, honestly. Why does that give me why does that... Okay.
I'd be more interested in seeing, I don't remember his name.
That's very...
Moronic Freak. That's all. I only remember that voice line from him. I don't remember his name. I'd be more interested in seeing him in VR than Dimitrescu. Because he's still pretty damn tall, too. He's quite a bit taller than Ethan, if I remember right.
I don't know. I can't help you. The most I know is Leon Kennedy. All I know is Leon Kennedy's a cat femboy, so...
That's fair. I only got into... I haven't gotten into Resident Evil, but I've somewhat been, like, interested in it recently. Because of the newest one coming out, and then I watched,
better get me... Oh.
Village when it came out.
Ow. Oh. This is very delayed sometimes. My inventory is like really full.
Maybe you should fix that.
Okay, well you're gonna have netherrack on your floor now.
Okay. I don't know why y'all don't just, like,
is it directional
carry flint and
throwing?
steel.
It is directional throwing. That's cool.
So how much of this actually has worked?
Quite a bit. I mean, from my point of view, it looks like a tilt field.
There's just a few up above that I didn't quite get. Just gonna steal.
Wait, give me a hoe. Let me
give
me a hoe. Let me get some real farm. I don't carry a hoe. Oh, yeah. I don't.
Welcome to the ridiculous achievement. Let these dry out a little faster.
No, I don't inherently get reach.
Oh well.
Because it's like, it's highlighting that block way down there. But it's not letting me, like, click on it.
Yes, that's how that goes. I had Leaf It be in the wrong spot. Oh well. Oh, let me stockpile the diamonds.
Two hoes. One for the bitches and one for the love. I got 2 hoes. Like, can you see, like, my arms movement?
Yeah. You got your arms up in the air. Like, waving like you just don't care.
Wait, is that... I did something and now it's in my offhand.
Maybe if you swap the hands?
I don't know. What is... I did something.
I couldn't tell you. Oh! Just rubber banded across my screen.
Wait, did I... Oh, that's from the... That's not rubber banding. Wee.
You zigzagged across my screen or teleported.
Wee.
Why can you just, like, teleport?
Wee. VR. Because... if I were to walk literally all the way to my base...
It'd take hours.
That would be... What's... That's a 2K.
I might just get VR then to get my steps in.
Well, I mean, like, you'd need a like one of those VR treadmill type things. Or like a standstill treadmill, you know?
Yeah.
So that's just...
I might as well, instead of investing into VR, just invest into one of those nice, standing desk treadmills.
I have a standing desk.
Huh?
I have a standing desk. It's a very convenient purchase because I play VR. Oh, wait.
Can I have my whole back?
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, it is mine. Can I have Leaf It Be?
If my cursor would stop
we don't have what
jittering.
Are you doing, so it's so funny to just see your hand waving about in the air very, very slightly.
Well, now I get to watch myself, so... Yeah. You can't see my legs move, which sucks. I have, an application that will, like, fake my legs moving. I could try turning it on. Let me...
What's
Let
enough?
me try doing that.
What the...
Oh, my arm is just
What
frozen.
do you...
What? Did he just hand you a stack of templates?
He handed me 3 stacks.
Oh, that's nothing. So that's...
Y'all need to go outside. Y'all need to touch grass. Y'all need to touch grass.
I never said I was doing shit like that.
No, but saying it's
say
nothing
like I'm saying that
says
nothing
a lot.
for him, not me.
Okay.
I have like 300
Still.
diamonds max. To be fair, I don't go mining for them. That's just what I've collected over, like, just cuz. I don't use them. I don't buy food. I just make it.
Yeah,
What the fuck? Oh, hi.
You want to go see the mega base? Because I need to grab some,
Your mega... Oh, yeah, because
yeah, we'll go down to the mega base, because I need to grab some carrots and onions. You know, I'm gonna grab Sanic for this.
I do. Oh. Whee! I can't do what I normally do,
Sanic. No, Sanic is not good enough to do that anymore. Okay. I could hope. I just need to sit down and train him.
Again.
Yeah, because for some reason it bugged out, and now he's back to a pretty noob horse.
Oh, help. Oh, Lord, help.
Actually, let me... I want to see what it looks like if I do. Nope, Sanic, get back here. Thank you.
I just about fell over. Where's my golden carrots?
I love how there's still signs left about my base from Race Car leaving a bunch of creepypasta images. Or creepypasta
What?
fan art, more accurately.
What is the IOU for? No, I'm asking. What
I
is
have
the
no
IOU
idea.
for?
I have no idea. It's been there since... It's been there for like 3 or 4
Wait.
months. I have no idea who it's
noticed it, like,
from.
forever ago.
I have zero clue who it's from. I
not
don't
from
know
me.
why
I don't know.
anybody would pop
No.
down an orange dye that says IOU. Maybe I just need to text Pumpkin because he uses orange. But he's not on the server enough for him to be a suspicion. You picked up the item frame from the IOU.
Oh, I did. Here.
Yeah.
I have golden carrots, or golden apples.
So yeah, I have no idea what the IOU is. It's just here. I actually need to go into here. Yeah, here we go. Take a little.
I love that I
just
shoved, like... Wait, does... Oh, my texture pack doesn't work for that. But I love how I just shoved, like, a massive golden apple into my face to eat it.
Yum!
Ah.
POV, me and
Thank
pumpkin
fuck.
seeds. That's not a joke. I adore
know.
my pumpkin seeds. Oh!
I don't know, remember when Skip asked you the question, which I still I don't remember at this moment in time?
What is your favorite?
Thought.
That's all he
Well,
asked.
don't leave me.
Wait, race car, can you hold him and also... How can we also get Penguin in here? Can you hold him and be on the horse, or...?
Oh, wait, I can pet your dog. I can pet... Yeah, Sonic's a dog. Yay.
You know what? This works! Yeah, this is fine.
Yay!
Oh, I lost the cart. Okay, I'll drop you all off and I'll grab the cart.
What cart? I'm spinning so much. Oh yeah,
Alright.
I like the direction race car's looking.
Last stop. Last call. Thank you.
Okay,
I
sorry.
need to go grab the cart. And maybe be a little more careful getting back up, or find another way to do it.
Race car, I am curious. Does this... Oh, it does.
Oh, you can pet?
No. Well... How would I crouch?
Nope.
I could.
I
I could carry on pickup. Race car, come here. Where's my keyboard?
Can I do this? There we go. Okay, we're doing this. That'll do.
Eh. Apparently that doesn't work. What is...
But yeah, the question was, he simply asked, what is your favorite? And didn't follow up. And I asked, we had a little back and forth, and then he's just like, no, just answer the question, what is your favorite? And I just responded, pumpkin seeds. I hope they're my favorite. I've been eating them I've been getting a bag of them every 2 weeks for over 10 years. And that is not a joke, and I'm gonna get more pumpkin seeds tomorrow. I love my pumpkin seeds. I have actually invested.
Like riding on a happy ghast.
That is a good question. I'm very curious how it's messed up flying is gonna work with VR.
Oh,
it just plants.
Flying?
Okay.
Like electric.
Is it only? Does it only plant? It's only planting the carrots. Why are you only planting the carrots?
Oh, well, it goes first slot, then.
I was hoping it'd go back and. Okay. How did I
if you want
even?
that race car, come to the.
Okay, that's.
Come to the thing.
Okay, I know
you can see
how
where
I
I'm
need
at.
to do this. Maybe I don't.
Whisker, come to the
Something like this, maybe. maybe I can do that, and it would
Me, you fight.
kind of go back and forth.
No mace, please God, no mace. I am inherently disabled.
No, it
please.
just
I'm
doesn't
gonna use my
plant.
sword.
It doesn't plant onions. Just straight
am
up, it
curious,
doesn't plant
actually.
onions. Well,
Oh, probably because it's not a vanilla crop. Race car, could I
yeah,
please try something?
yeah.
Does this? Did that
That
do the damage of
sucks.
an axe? No, I was just curious. That did half a heart. Okay, wait. Actually, how much does this do? Half a heart or half your health? Half a heart, probably. Heart. Okay. How much does this do? What are you shooting? What the fuck is there a creeper up there? Oh wait, actually, race car, do you have arrows? Can I borrow your bow? Why is it left-handed?
I've gotten this. It's on cost fallacy. I've gotten this far. We're just gonna keep going. We're gonna go until I'm done planting these fields.
Yeah!
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I'm shooting a bow in VR, and I hit a creeper that race car was struggling to hit.
Nice.
Can I bow spam?
Maybe.
I can. Oh, it switched. Please help.
I already despise what I have created
die.
here. That was a noise. I despise what I have created here. I'm gonna come back to it another day. I wish to play Chef's Shift and show off my typing.
I'm being abused by a race car.
You stay on mute until I'm out of the game. Do you wanna hop into the live VC?
I physically
Or is that harder?
can't.
Okay. Okay then. never
Because
mind.
for some reason in VR, my my virtual desktop to like access my monitor while in VR is like schizophrenic.
I don't think that's the word you're going for.
I don't think it's the right word, but it's what I can think of. The epileptic. Yeah.
There you go.
So it's epileptic. I'm about to get maced. I actually stepped back in real life. I don't know. But yeah, so I can't like access anything.
That's fun. Alright then, if you want to join in later, we'll still be in live VC. I want to play Chef Shift.